Did they possibly make a release I'll like better than my Scott Sigma? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with PodiumArcher.com talking about the Scott Apex Core. This is a very similar release, at least from my first glances, to my Sigma that I really like, other than it looks like it's open hook, or maybe it closes. We'll play with it here in a minute. We're going to try to start doing some release reviews, and so I'd like feedback from you guys down below. Obviously, it'd be nice if you subscribe, because half of you don't. But if you can comment down below on what things you want me to point out, look at, or play with in releases as we start to try to do release reviews. But because this was from the company I already used my release on and it looked relatively similar but kind of different, I thought we'd play with it. So let's open it up here. We've had these for a couple months, and like I said, just trying to come up with ideas for what we should be looking about and talking about when it comes to releases. Okay, so first initial glance, it's a little bulkier than my Sigma. The finger hole's a little bigger, but not terribly. I don't know if that's adjustable for different 3 or 4s. Yeah. So it looks like you can change out the knob to a smaller knob. You can change out the 3-finger to a 4-finger if you want. That all comes with it. That's a neat feature. Spring engagement, just like the other, and then you close the jaw on the loop. Positioning wise, I think that might take a little getting used to, and I think this is a little longer. Let me grab my Sigma. Hang on. Where's my Sigma? I bet you it's in here. Okay. So this is what I've liked, and if we look at the positions of this, it hooks the opposite direction, so it'll probably take some getting used to there. It's a little longer in the nose, so my anchor point's going to look a little different. Or my draw length's going to be slightly different, depending on how you want to look at it. But maybe this mechanism's a little cleaner. Looks like you got tension adjustment, travel adjustment in here. So I think I'll just try to set it up to what feels comfortable for me. When it comes to thumb triggers, I have one particular method that I really like to use when I'm setting these things up. Obviously, you have your 3 fingers on there, and I like to choke up on it a little bit. I don't want it out on the ends of my fingers. I want it in my hand, about to there. And then when I come around after I've anchored in and I'm on target, I bring my thumb down and I actually touch my 4-finger and my thumb together. I'm not sure if any of you have picked up on that or watched that in my videos. But the purpose of that is as I start to pull through the mechanism, right, I'm not actually isolating this finger's movement. I'm just pulling back harder, harder, harder. And that movement, if you watch it, my finger starts to come back, or my thumb starts to come back and engage into that button right there without me functionally, physically moving it. And I found if I put my thumb on my 4-finger, I'm less likely to try to react to it. I just kind of pull like it doesn't move. So I'm not actually physically moving my thumb, I'm moving my whole back. So that's how I like to set one up, and I will, as I try these different releases out, to try to find a replacement for my old Scott Sigma, because it feels like it's been several years with the same release, and it might be time to learn something new. I will set them all up like that. So, off of the initial reaction, I think that bigger button's probably going to need to go, and I'm probably going to need to put that smaller one on there. So let's see how that works. Got an Allen wrench here. Yep. Looks like there's a set screw down in the hole for holding this on. Might have skipped past it. We'll see here. Yeah, I think it did. There it goes. So is that thread on? Yeah. So it's threaded on and off. Where's that? I like a 3-finger, so I'm going to leave the 3-finger attachment on. Nothing wrong with a 4-finger. Shot 4-finger for years. I've just gotten so used to my Sigma that I'm used to only using 3 fingers. I may go back to 4-finger at some point. Has that got a screw in it? Okay, so it looks like if you do swap these out, you got to take the screw out of the other one. There it goes. Okay. Screw that back on here. Okay. Okay, locked her back down. Now that, position-wise, is a lot closer, but it still feels like it's out for me in comparison to what this is. So I'm going to bring that, and if you look at the positions of it, it is quite a bit back. So I'm going to bring that forward a little bit more. And that's just rotating these screws. It's pretty simple. Loosen that, bring it forward to about there. Tighten that down. Tighten that down. Okay, so that feels a lot more like it, but it also feels really light. Now, everyone has a different philosophy in what they think correct is, but to me, I do not want my trigger light. I want to be able to get around it and feel it and not just lightly touch it and it goes off. I want to be able to put some pressure against it before it moves, so I'm going to set this up a little heavier. Now, I'm not sure which one does which because I hate reading directions and I'd rather just figure it out, but I'll try to tighten that and see what that one does. I think that's quite a bit heavier. It feels heavier. So I think that's tension. My guess is that's probably travel. And I don't feel this really moving. That's definitely tension. I'm going to set it a little heavier. So that's just screwing it. Clockwise will tighten it. Counterclockwise will loosen it or lighten it. That's that screw right there. I don't know, that feels lighter all of a sudden. Okay, let's try shooting that a little bit. We'll bring the wrench on over here and just run a couple arrows through this bow. Chloe, go on. Go, 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 go. Don't want you to be in front of the shot here. So let's fire a couple out of this here. Can you see light okay? Like here? Do I need more light? All right. Okay, so click that on. That's going to take some getting used to. Close it on there. In hindsight, if you're ever playing with spring tension in your release, don't draw right back towards your face the first time you try in case you've missed it by a little bit and it goes off. If you set it too light, a lot of times with load against it, it'll go off. Okay. It feels clean. I didn't feel the trigger move before it goes off, which I personally prefer it that way. Some people actually want to feel it moving, and that's what you have the travel adjustment for. I would prefer to not feel it moving. I just want to pull on it harder, 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 harder till it goes off. So I think I need to adjust that thumb position. Yeah, that thumb's not quite in the right spot. So far so good though. It feels nice. I can put some pressure on it and it doesn't just want to go, which is a nice plus. You gotta have a little preload in it. You just do. That's how most releases are set. If you have things here, you know, to where you can't like hardly breathe on it before it goes off, it can make some really great crisp trigger breaks. But the problem with that is as soon as you get into a heightened situation, i.e. tension, nervousness, whether you're a target shooter and all of a sudden you really care about how well you do, the final score is on the line, the final arrow's on the line, 320 class bull stands in front of you and the closest thing you've ever had stand in front of you is a 280. If you don't think you're going to react to that situation by an increased heart rate and greater muscle tension, you're foolish. And if you set things really, 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 really light, it's hard to have them go off when all of a sudden everything else feels statically different, which is why I like a lot of load pressure on here. I want to be able to do this and have it not go off, but squeeze on it and it will. So that's my personal preference, or to each his own. I like a little bit of weight on my thumb because I want to load some pressure into my shot. All right, come on. Yeah, I'm still going to have to figure the best way to do that. Other one, the trigger going the other way doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's going to take some getting used to. That thumb position's a little better now. Okay, so I still think I would want it a little heavier than that. It feels like it goes pretty quickly, and I want to have some load pressure in there. Okay, we'll see what that does. So that was about 1/4 of a turn on the screw, which should be a lot. Once again, if you make a change to your release in tension or travel, don't draw directly back towards your face just in case it goes off so you don't, I don't know, knock a tooth out of your mouth. Because you are basically hanging on to a big old piece of metal that's coming right at your face. Okay. That's better. Yeah, that feels good. I do notice this weird ting. Every time I fire it, I can hear the mechanism in here going tink. I'm sure I'd probably get used to it, but you can hear that ting. I hear that going off in my ear every time I fire it, so that's a little different. It's clean. I don't feel, like I said, I don't feel travel going through it. It seems like a relatively good release. Might be worth playing with and trying out. I'm sure I'll get used to that over the other, but I'm going to try as many of them as we carry and pick a different release this year. I feel I kind of owe it to you guys to work through that process with you a little bit. And we'll still cover some hinges and resistances, even though at the end of the day, I want to hunt with a thumb. And I want to hunt with a thumb for a very specific reason, because I believe there are instances and occasions where you need to be able to command the shot. Sorry, Joel, I know you won't like that answer, but I want to be able to do that and not have my impact point change. And if I try to command a hinge or I try to command a resistance or a forefinger, you tend to react differently to it as opposed to just discharging your thumb, because your thumb is separate and isolated from your fingers. I find that when I do have to do that, I don't miss by nearly as much because I made a bad decision in that situation. So head on over to podiumarcher.com for all those archery needs, including this guy that should be on the website. They are pretty clean. It's definitely worth playing with, but you know, teach his own. There's a lot out there. This might be of interest to you. It might not. I don't know. Make sure to like and follow on the Instagram and follow the YouTube channel. Freebies are coming. Giveaways are coming. Got some new information in that personally I think is pretty exciting, but we'll see if you feel the same way. Comment down below on what I didn't look at or what I didn't point out or how much of a moron I am because I didn't emphasize this or that in this, because I take that information from you guys and add it into what I'm going to look at and review when I'm looking at products. And I appreciate that feedback from you, good, bad, or indifferent. So thank you for that. See ya.